All right, everybody, welcome out to the Lager Room Guys Craft Beer Show. It is Tuesday, October the 22nd, 2024. Jersey Johnny coming at you. With me, as always, is none other than Mr. Beer Samurai, sitting down with something to eat.
I am. Just trying to figure out the mustard here. I got some Engelhofer spicy brown mustard.
Engelhofer spicy brown mustard is a decent mustard. The actual one with the horseradish mustard is good too, and the one at the stone with the one with the actual mustard seeds in it. That's really good too. I actually have that one in the fridge downstairs, as a matter of fact, right now.
I'll tell you.
I'll give you three guesses what I bought it to put on.
My first guess will be bratwurst. My second guess will be bratwurst. My third guess will be bratwurst.
None of the above. It was bratwurst right there.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's bratwurst.
Product placement too. There you go.
Shameless. Shameless.
Oh, there you go. Those of you in the audio podcast, you're going to have to tune in right about a minute and 30 seconds.
There's no need to. It's just a picture of bratwurst and some and some beer brewed by the guy I'm speaking to right now.
There you go. Anyway, but in any event, I digress. How are you on this fine evening? Why are you eating a pretzel?
Because it's Eat a Pretzel Day, John. You should
Happy Eat a Pretzel.
I texted you this earlier.
I know you did, and I just did not have a chance.
And that's why you got a banner set up for it.
That's why I get it. Exactly.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. It's called a setup. Sorry. Blew it again?
Yeah, you did. You did.
I'll get the hang of this. It's only
eventually. It's only been 4 years.
It's only been
over 4 years.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, good enough though. Good enough. Happy Eat a Pretzel Day. I would be eating a pretzel with you if I had time to stop and get one, but I didn't.
No.
Alas, I did not.
Alas.
It is also Happy National Nut Day. That it celebrates Dave and I,
and a few other people that we know,
and many other people.
People we know. And remember, in this case, it's not a verb.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you know.
National. How is national a verb? I don't understand. Anyway, moving on. You also told me that it is Happy Womp Rat Day, right?
Did I say Womp-Rat? No, I could have sworn I said Wombat.
No, you said Wombat. I heard Womp-Rat. I just wanted
And that's why I'm wearing my Wombats concert tee.
There you go. Look at that. Very nice.
But it's not in honor of the band. It's in honor of the little marsupials who poop in squares.
This is true. I'm wearing my concert tee too. There you go.
Yeah. Was that sold out?
It was. I wish it were. Anyway. And I think there was one other one too. But we were kind of confused on how to end it. So it's Happy Make a Dog's Day.
I don't know.
Because it's Happy Make a Dog's Day. So you're not making a dog's what? You're not making a dog. So it's got to be Happy Make a Dog's Day.
And the Chewy box showed up today. So
and there you go.
There we go.
Those of you that do not know or unaware of this, that have been playing along with us for the last 4+ years, Samurai got a dog over the weekend.
Over the weekend, you can actually see her. It's her little bed down over
there. We see a little bit right by the file.
Right there. That's her bed. She's outside now watching TV with mom.
She's watching TV, just as most good dogs do.
Yeah,
there you go. Cool. And I did one thing we haven't done a lot on the show. These funny pictures, and they're all over the place, right? There's a couple people that do them on a regular basis. I found one that was pretty funny, and I just wanted to bring it up and show you really quick. And that's this one right here. Shaky says, "We are back to sever you even better."
Nice. I thought this was just something from your other show.
No, this one wasn't.
So you guys do a lot of that.
We do a lot of them. Yeah.
We don't do that much on this show, but
no. But I thought that was funny. I just want to put that on there. So,
we'll
back to sever you even better. Sever you. I wouldn't go in there. I wouldn't go in there. But that's me. Call me silly. All right.
If you've had a bad severance, then you might go there for a better one.
That's not true. That's very true, I should say. That's very true. All right. I don't know about you, but I'm thirsty.
I am thirsty because I've been eating this pretzel. It's a damn good pretzel, by the way.
There you go.
I mean, it's better. It's a damn good pretzel for having come from Aldi.
This is true. No, not Aldi. Lidl.
That's right. You're right. Absolutely. Lidl's the one right down the street.
Right. There you go. Same difference, though. But all right. Let's bring our guest on. Comes to us all the way from North Vancouver, British Columbia. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Enrico Bovero. There he is.
He got the button right.
Hello.
Hey, Enrico, how's it going?
How are you, Enrico?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yes, doc, I called you doctor, right? You talked about it before.
Yes, he told you about this. It's not a big deal. It's not relevant.
No. He has a PhD in
Chemistry.
In chemistry, yes. In chemistry. Well, I was going to say something funny. I was going to say a PhD in knowing when he's dealing with two nuts. That's what
There we go.
There you go. Anyway, welcome to the show, Enrico. How are you? How is Vancouver on this fine afternoon?
Thank you very much.
There,
yeah,
still, right?
it's Vancouver is good. Finally, a little bit of sunshine.
Nice. It was 80 degrees here today in Jersey.
Long rainy days.
Does it get as rainy in Vancouver as it does in Washington and Seattle? I would imagine it does, since it's not really that far, right?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
I got you. Cool. We have a couple of comments really quick. Brian Boak said, "What kind?" I'm not sure what he referred to.
We have no idea what he's asking there.
What kind? What, Brian? Just
of nut? Maybe nut.
What kind of nut? Yeah. Oh no, that's the case. You insert your own answer there.
Exactly. Make your own joke.
Exactly. And Beer Jesus said, "New Terrifier has some nifty catchphrases."
Oh, that's the new horror movie.
Oh, gotcha. I wish they cut beer prices for the severance package. There you go.
There we go.
And Brian said, "Dog." What kind of dog? There you go.
Oh, okay. It is. She is a mutt. We're actually mailed out the DNA test to see what she is.
There you go. She is a mutt, which is perfect for Dave.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I am a mutt.
Exactly. All right.
Thirsty.
Let's thirsty. Let's have some. Let's open some beer and then we'll get to some questions. I want to talk. I want to find out all about Enrico and Braggot Brewing and everything else too. So, Enrico, what are you drinking, if anything, right now?
Today I have a golden Braggot. It's our light version made with light honeys and light malts. Honey that we extract in the spring. It's an easy drinking Braggot by itself or with food.
Very nice. Very nice. It's called Golden Elixir, I'm assuming.
So it's this one right here that I'm drinking.
It's that one.
Exactly.
Is there this?
There you go.
There we go.
I think that might be the strong version of what I'm drinking. That's one is, I think, in the bottle is the 11.
I think it says 5 on it.
Version, I show you.
Well, if it's 11%, Dave, there you go.
No. This is the 5%. It says it right down. Where is it? It says it right here.
Yeah,
we can get it to focus.
Yeah,
there it is, 11%. There you go.
No, it says 5.
Oh, I got you.
So I hope it's the 11.
If it's the 11%, Dave's very happy. Well, you know what, Enrico? In about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we're going to know whether it's the 11% or the 5%.
Oh, you think it's John? You underestimate how delicious this beer is. It's not lasting that long.
It's not. No, I'm saying with your slur, not your drinking.
I slur naturally.
That's true. Very true. Brian Boak just said they call the designer dog, not mutt.
They call them designer dogs, not mutt.
They call them designer dogs, not mutts. There you go.
It's a mutt. She's a mutt.
There you go. So Dave, you're drinking the same, obviously.
Drinking the same may or may not be 11%. This doesn't taste too much. Doesn't taste too boozy, so I think it's the 5%, Enrico.
Dave, did you have the 11% while you were out there?
We did have the flight. I think we ran through everything that Enrico had on tap while we were there.
Yeah, so we have two versions which are 11.9%. So you might have had.
Yeah, but do you put the 5% in the growler? The growler?
Usually I serve the 5% in the can and the 11% in the bottles.
No. So maybe the label's wrong and it's not 5. Maybe it is the
might be.
Well, there you go. Well, we'll find out.
I have no problem with that.
I don't think he has a problem with that either way. So there you go. I am drinking from our friends at Almanac Brewing down in Alameda, California. Zapf Pils. Right there's a German Pilsner, 4.8%. I unfortunately, Enrico, I do apologize. I do. I wish I did have one. Can I have some of that?
No.
Enrico, I apologize. I don't have any of your Braggot, and I don't have any Braggot. Period. So
no problem.
I will be just drinking
because I don't like them that enough to have brought him one back.
Exactly. See, it's. I blame Dave. It's Dave's fault. So
it's my fault.
There you go. All right. Cool. Well, cheers, gents.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, very good. Oh my God, that's really good. I remember you saying this day when you had it. This is well brewed.
It's a very good beer.
Yeah.
But this Braggot is quite lovely. Now, what's the honey type in the Golden Elixir, Enrico?
So in the Golden Elixir, we use the spring honey. So the honey that we extract up to mid-May, which usually has cherry maple nectars all the way up to the blueberry. The blueberry is probably the biggest nectar flow in that honey. And those nectars are usually light in colors. So they give like a golden, light yellow honey, which we combine with Pilsner malts. The Pilsner malt is simply a malt that is pale, has not been roasted, just desiccated. And it's called Pilsner malt. All beers, as you probably know, are made with the base of Pilsner malt. Mm-hmm. And has a light, refreshing flavor. And it's usually popular in the summer, in the hot days. Mm-hmm. I personally like to drink it with food. Whenever I combine a Braggot with food, I like to go for the Golden because it doesn't take away or add too much to the taste of the food. But having said that, when I eat something a bit more mighty, like meat or something like this, I like to go for something like the brown ale or even the darker ones.
Gotcha. All right. Before we get too far into it, because I want to hear all about this, but and I have a lot of questions for you too. Let's ask the first question that we normally ask everybody on the show, and that was, to the best of your recollection,
yes, what
was the first craft beer you ever had?
The very first craft beer, probably something in Portland in 2015 in a brew pub. I don't recall the name of the craft beer of the brewery.
Gotcha. Could be Rogue for that year, right? Could be Rogue.
Could have been. I grew up in Italy, in Europe, and when I was there were not many craft beers. So probably the closest one to craft beer that I had was probably the Forst, which is in the Südtirol region of Italy. It's not really a small brewery now. It's fairly big, but maybe that could be a partial answer to your question. But it's not in the North American scene.
No, that's like Faust as an F-A-U-S-T.
Forst, which means F-O-R-S-T.
Forst, okay.
Forst, F-O-R-S-T,
yeah. It's they have a brew pub where they're close to the factory, but they ship it internationally. So now they're a pretty big brewery, still independent, though they haven't been bought by anybody, as far as I know.
Right. Well, that qualifies as far as I'm concerned, anyway. Absolutely, right. So if they're independent, and I don't care how big they are. I mean, I'm considering. Let's put it this way: you look at any of the big lagers or pilsners or whatever coming over from Germany. If you said one of them, or anybody says one of them, boom, that's the first one, right? So this disqualifies.
But they've been around for probably a couple of 100 years, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. That's all good.
Craft, modern craft brewery.
That is all good. Hey, as far as I'm concerned, Weihenstephaner is a craft brewery, and in another 16 years, they'll be around for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
So, in Germany. So, cool. All right, let's get to you. When did you? You said you grew up in Italy.
Yes.
Correct. When did you start? Did you start making Braggot over in Italy, or did you start when you came over this way?
Yeah, I started making Braggot in Italy, mead and Braggot, maybe around early mid-90s, and has been a hobby for a while. And then I started keeping bees because I wanted to try making mead and Braggot with my own honey. I wanted to try varietal honey because usually the honey that you buy is always a blend of various honeys, and you don't have much control over the taste. Mm-hmm. So I started keeping bees when I first moved to Canada, again as a hobby in the early 2000s. Actually 2006, so mid-2000s. And then it grew into like a little commercial operation till I was able to sustain the production of alcohol, and I applied for a liquor license, and then I started this brewery, the Braggot Brewing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you started, when did Braggot open? If I read correctly, a couple of years now, right?
Yeah, 2002. We opened in May 2002, so about 15 years after I started keeping bees.
There you go. Awesome. That's great. And now so all of the honey in all your braggots are from your honey.
Exactly, correct.
That's awesome.
I would say honey is our core product, and Braggot is a value-added product, same as pollen and other hive products.
I got you.
And you can buy your honey at the brewery, correct?
Yeah, you can buy honey at the brewery, at the farm, and a few stores, especially in the summer, like farmers market stores.
And what's the honey brand?
API Crafts. API Crafts is basically the name of the company. We do business as Braggot Brewing in the selling alcoholic beverages.
Mm-hmm.
We have the same logo, same symbol, same everything. It's the same company.
That would be that.
Exactly. That's the symbol, our calendar.
Yes.
Yep.
The logo when we first got there had me fascinated.
Now talk about that for a little bit, because I was reading a little bit of that on your website. Why don't you talk about that? You did the whole it's the calendar, 13 four sets of 13 or 13 sets of 4. But as far as cards go, talk about that, please.
Yeah, so basically, first of all, the main message I want to convey with our logo is the fact that our product is related to the seasons. We want to taste the seasons in the various drinks. For example, the golden in the spring, and the amber brown in the summer, and the dark in the late summer. So the logo, which we can kind of see in this can, is
I'm going to pull it up right here. Hold on.
Is a calendar, and it's a calendar we made based on the playing cards. We noticed that
there it is, right there.
Yeah. So we noticed that there are 52 cards in a deck of cards and 52 weeks in a year. So one card corresponds to 1 week. There are 4 seasons and there are 4 suits. There are 13 cards per season. 13 weeks per season and 13 cards per suit. So on the outside of the circles, we see going from the top clockwise, we see the winter. And then, so we go from the top, which is the winter solstice, to down at 90 degrees, which is the spring equinox. And then we have the summer, which is from the spring equinox to the bottom. And then we go up, still clockwise, to the fall equinox, and then back up to the winter solstice. And then if we arrange the cards for the weeks by the numbers, so you see the inside circle, we have all aces, and then our 2s and 3s and so on. We get 13 repetitions of the 4 suits, which correspond with 13 lunar cycles. So we go from like new moon to new moon, or full moon to full moon. So in other words, we have a solar cycle, a solar calendar on the outside, and a lunar cycle on the inside. And we put golden grail close to the spring equinox, because it's the honey that we extract. It's made with the honey that we extract in the spring. The amber stone in the summer, because it's made with the honey that we extract around that time of the year. And Excalibur, or the Dark Ages, which is our Braggot version of a stout, made with the honey that we extract around the fall equinox, so at the end of the summer. Obviously, we don't extract any honey in the winter, so on the top there is no Braggot.
Yeah, shit.
I'm trying to translate the runes that are in the mountains, because those look like Germanic runes.
Yeah, so the runes in the back spell Anwon, which is
Anwon, that's it. Okay.
Which is an ancient name of Avalon, the mythical land beyond the sea, and it's associated with ancient cultures that were using these calendar symbols, these circles that are spread across Western Europe, Northwestern Europe. They were calling them Kremlich, or like Stonehenge.
Right.
Sure.
They were oriented along along the sun. All the purpose seemed to be pretty much to track the time and the seasons based on where the sun was rising. Because the sun rises in the spring equinox, rises in the east in the spring equinox, and rises northeast in the summer solstice, and southeast in the northeast in the summer solstice, and southeast in the winter solstice.
Sure.
Yeah, that is a fascinating logo. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love every element of that.
I'm reading about it. I find myself, I'm like, all right, like 20 minutes later, I'm still reading about it. I'm like, this is, yeah, we're bringing this up tonight.
Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah. So, all right. What was the first, do you remember the first Braggot, or did you brew Braggot first or mead first? What did you make first?
The first was probably a mead, or if I want to be more precise, a metheglin. The metheglin is the technical name of a mead made with spices.
Okay.
And I remember, I think that time I made cinnamon, simply because the process of brewing with grains is not as easily accessible for home brewing. I didn't have a brew kettle and something to strain the wort, or a mash tun, in other words.
Sure.
And just the simplest thing was to make mead. And then I quickly transitioned to Braggot because I find that Braggot has a better drinkability. I personally like the body conferred by the proteins of the grains. That also creates a nice foam on top, combined with the flavors of the mead. The mead itself is very flavorful, but it's not as drinkable in the sense that it's drinkable maybe with a dessert, with a slice of cake, with some cheese, but not as much by itself. Beer is very drinkable by itself, but it's not as complex and as mead. So I think, in my opinion, Braggot is a good combination of the two.
Sure, absolutely. No, I agree with that. I would definitely agree with that. I'm sorry, Dave, you're going to say something?
Oh, yes. I was going to mention, because we had the discussion at your brewery, that most people that are in the craft beer world, and let's face it, our audience is pretty much 99.9%, and you might add a 0.1% craft beer people.
Except we did the one mead show we did.
We have done a mead show.
There you go.
But all those people that watch us on the mead show, they're craft beer people.
This is true too.
But in the craft beer world, especially in the U.S., I don't think a Braggot is fully understood. Most people, when asked, and I've been guilty of this, people ask, "Well, what is a Braggot?" And I'll say, "Well," and I said back then, and you still hear people say it, "Oh, well, it's basically mead and a brown ale combined." And we know that's not the truth. You schooled me on this. I forgot a lot of what you said. Intentionally forgot it so that I could learn it back again when you came on the show. So why don't you let us know what exactly is a Braggot? What makes a Braggot a Braggot? What differentiates between a beer and a mead? And how do you make one?
So first of all, I like to start with saying that the definition of a brown ale with a honey is actually a good point to start, because I would say that's the easiest way to make a Braggot, simply because the yeast used for a brown ale works very well with honey, and so that's probably is the first starting point for a Braggot. But in general, I would say a Braggot is anything. It's a product of fermentation of grains with honey. So product fermentation of grains is beer. The product fermentation of honey is mead. The combination of the two is called Braggot. We think that Braggot is the predecessor of two, because it dates back to a time before agriculture, when people didn't have enough grains to make pure beer or honey to make pure mead. And so they were combining the two. And probably what happened historically is that one day somebody that was making, or maybe many people in many different places at different times, they found themselves preparing a meal, maybe with something like a porridge with spelt or wheat or any other grains, sweeten it with honey and with maybe other herbs. And one day probably they made it a bit more diluted than they should have. And the day after they found it alcoholic, that it had fermented, and probably liked it better than the original version.
Probably.
And that's how Braggot.
We saw God.
Having said that, I mean, it's easy to understand the definition of Braggot is not that strict, because there is a wide spectrum of Braggots. depending on how much the ratio between the honey and the grains that one decides to put. Many breweries tend to, let's say, put more grains than honey, obviously, because honey is more expensive than grains. Luckily, we have bees, so we started the other way around, so we can put about 50-50. But having said that, we don't claim that our Braggot is the only Braggot. We see that, we understand there are Braggots that are maybe like 80% grains and 20% honey, and other Braggots can be closer to a mead. Maybe they're 80% honey and a little bit of grains. We try to be 50-50, kind of to differentiate ourselves and positions ourselves exactly in between the beer and the mead scene. And again, the main reason is that we like the combination of the body of a beer and the flavors of a mead. I always make a comparison of having a slice of bread with jam, where the bread is the beer and the jam is the mead. The jam is delicious, but by itself can be a bit overwhelming, and that's why mead is usually enjoyed with, as I was saying, a slice of cheese or with some food pairing. While beer, like a good piece of bread, can be drunk by itself. But we think that combining the two, we get, let's say, a better experience.
Yeah, and you can kind of get that in what I'm drinking here, because you get that kind of almost a bready backbone, almost like, I'd say almost a British scone kind of backbone to it. But the Golden Elixir it's got a berry element to it, at least this batch does. So the bees obviously hit some berry flowers. So so it's like a scone with a little bit of honey and berries spread on it, and it's fantastic. I love this.
Thank you.
There you go.
I love this. I loved it when we were there. Now you mentioned
I will get out there and have some, by the way.
We got to get out. We got to get out there. Trust me. And he's in a really interesting location. We'll get into the location where you are
we'll talk about that
in a little bit, because that's really cool. But earlier you brought up Methelgen, and there's also melomels and sizers, and these are all the different styles of meads. Are there different styles of braggots?
Yeah, there are different styles of braggots. I mean, braggots can borrow the nomenclature from the beer if one follows the recipe of a beer and adds honey, or can borrow the nomenclatures of a mead. In our list, we have one which we call the melomel, is actually the best seller, especially in the summer. We call it the Sunset Orange. We make it with orange zest. We think that citrusy fruits in general go very well with honey. And so this is one of the varieties we have. But other than that, our philosophy is more purist, in the sense that we try to highlight the work of the bees, because we have our own honey. We wouldn't want to follow complicated recipes that would cover the flavor of the honey. So more or less, we follow the same exact recipe, but we change the ingredients. The main ingredient that we change, obviously, is the honey, like the spring honey and the summer wildflower and late summer honey, which confers these floral notes to the braggot. And we simply match them with a small percentage of darker malt. So we always use Pilsner malt as a base malt, and then we add, let's say, caramel malt or brown ale malt in like 5 to 10%, just to match the body, the flavor of the honey. If we were to use a dark malt with light honey, the malt would overwhelm the honey, and if we use the dark honey with light malts, the honey would overwhelm the malt. So the only strategy that we follow is that of using similar intensity honey and malt. But other than that, we don't play around too much with yeast varieties or hops and other parameters that other craft breweries used to play with, but we just try to follow the same recipe so that the customer can really enjoy, can really differentiate the flavors of the honey from one season to the other. Otherwise, it would cover the season aspect and you wouldn't be able to discern it.
That's great. That, I mean, makes perfect sense. They use dark honeys with dark meads, dark malts, and vice versa. That's awesome. Oh, that. What was I going to say? What now? How many releases do you do a year? I mean, do you just make the three as you've been alluding to, or are different versions of each? Or
I had 7 while I was there.
I was going to say so. Right. So, well, that's what I assumed. Right. So talk about that. Let's
So we have 7 different versions. We have our 4 basic ones, depending on the season, which are the golden, amber, brown, and dark. And I don't want to repeat myself, but they go from the spring to the late summer. Mm-hmm. And then we have the sunset orange, that mellow version, let's call it, which is the same recipe as the golden, but with added orange zest in the fermentation. And then the 2 strong ones, the ambrosia and the golden grail, or let's say the golden grail and ambrosia, which are the same recipes of the golden elixir and the amber stone, but just made with doubled ingredients. So twice the amount of honey and twice the amount of grains.
So more or less imperial version, if you will, of that particular.
Exactly. So more or less we have 4 recipes, and then 3 others. Then we kind of tweak them, adding orange zest or increasing the ingredients. Now lately, actually got ready this week and will be probably released in the weekend. We have devised or designed a new recipe of Braggot made with what was called Groot, which is a substitute of hop.
Sure.
As you probably know, hop was mandated during the purity law in Germany in 16. I forgot exactly the date.
1513, I believe it was.
Yeah. Because
pretend like you don't know that by heart, Johnny.
I mean, I think.
And Enrico, one of these days we'll have to have a discussion about how I tie that into the Protestant Reformation, because I think the two are linked. But anyway.
Yeah.
So you're going to do a Gruit Braggot.
Yeah, we made a Groot Braggot, so with no hop. The hop obviously was added because it had a calming effect, and it was good for monks, obviously. The alcohol, the beer, before the Prohibition law was making people want to fight too much, so they kind of mellowed it down a little bit with hop. And so we're curious to try a version without hop, but with the way it was done before. So we used the sweet wormwood and Siberian ginseng and other herbs. And so we call it the Power Braggot. It should be a drink that gives people energy and power. And let's see. The taste is a bit particular, and
you got to put some bee pollen in there too for those who want extra energy.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
You could do that.
If I have to, 1 second, excuse myself for like a few minutes, and I'll be back.
You got it.
Absolutely.
Right. Go for it.
Yeah. So that the watchers are aware. Enrico does have customers. He is at the brewery, and Enrico does everything.
And it's 7:17 Eastern time, which means it's 4:17 Pacific time, which is
4:17 is a good date. Oh, sorry.
4:17. Yeah. Oh, shut up. 4:28 is better. And Al would agree.
That makes you guys Tauruses now. Aries are number 1. Literally.
Does that mean Taurus are number 2?
Yes. You guys are definitely a number 2.
There you go.
At any rate. Before we get
is Tauri the plural of?
No, I don't think so. Not in this case.
Oh crap! Up, he's back. Never mind.
He's back. You're muted. And
no, I'll unmute him there.
No, you can unmute him there.
No, he has to unmute himself because he muted himself.
Yeah, you have to unmute yourself, Enrico.
You muted yourself, Enrico.
There you go.
Yeah, so I have to come and go a little bit in the next few minutes.
It's all good. No, yeah, everybody. We and I do apologize. It just popped into my head. I was wrong. It's not 1513. It's 1516. Reinheitsgebot, the German period law is 1516, not 1513. I was 3 years off. Forgive me.
No, I'm not going to. It's a vast gap.
There you go. But in any event, we filled the time perfectly. So we're good.
Yeah,
there you go.
We're good.
All right.
It was explained to the listeners and watchers that you do everything there. You're the head cook, the bottle washer, the brewer, you're sales guy.
Chief cook and bottle washer. Remember?
Yeah. So we let them know that you may have to step away from time to time.
Thank you.
That's fine. We've got plenty of stuff to fill gaps.
We do. It's all good.
But this is more fascinating than anything we're going to talk
much
about.
more. I just want to point out one thing. I've poured my second beer since Dave is enjoying a 750 of this first one.
This is actually a 375. I lied to you.
It's a 375.
It's a 375.
I saw it's only 12 ounces, so you should pull something outside of your fridge.
I probably will.
There you go. In the event, my second one is Life on Marzen. Now
I wonder what style that is.
Now it makes sense if you said Marzen, right? Life on Marzen, not Life on Märzen, right?
Yeah, Life on Märzen doesn't make much sense.
It doesn't make sense. But it's from Berkshire Brewing Company, up in Massachusetts. I got it while I was up in Worcester a couple weeks ago. But it's a quite enjoyable Märzen. I do like it. I do like it a lot. I like it a lot.
Even though they obviously don't know how to pronounce the style.
Exactly. And I poured it in my double down glass, which has made its second appearance on this show. So
it has. John's got a what you call it? He's got a love affair with this particular glass.
Well, no, because you know what? I mean, it's a standard glass. I mean, we've all seen these type of glasses. This is the. I used to own a number of these. I haven't in a while, and some of you know why, but I'm not going to get into it. So this is the first one of these that I've had in a certain amount of time. So that's why I'm enjoying it. There you go.
He's rather enjoying this.
We have a comment from Brian Boak. He said, first beer, Bissell Brothers Brewing, Baby Genius Ale. There you go. Cheers, Brian.
Cheers.
Awesome. Were you up in Maine, or did you pick that up locally, Brian? Let us know. I'm assuming locally.
It could have been his. He got a lot in that first divorce shipment. Remember?
No, I don't think. Well, yeah, no. I mean, yeah, that's true. Bissell Brothers does.
I have a Bissell Brothers sitting right over there. That got.
Yeah, no, they do ship to Tavor. You're right. Yeah, yep, he said it, Tavor.
Yeah. Ring one up for the samurai.
Yes, that was such a far walk for you to get that one right.
And I wasn't 3 years off. Though, to be totally honest, had I tried to guess the date, I probably would have had at least a century off.
No, you know what it is? I'm like, for some reason, I'm like 15, 13, 15, 16. I was like sitting there, no, it's 15. It's 15, 16. There you go. That's what it is.
So, but
I know it was on one side or the other, and I knew it wasn't 15-14, but it was one side or the other at 15-15. So
yeah, you're overthinking this and you're over-explaining it.
I know, so I'm going to stop now. And Brian just commented again. He said, next package arrives next week. I've created a monster, folks.
We told you, we warned him that it would be addictive and costly. So when Brian has to take a mortgage out on his house from ordering from Tavor, not our fault. We warned him.
No. It is our fault. I completely take responsibility for it. There you go.
Okay, so you can help him with his mortgage.
There you go. No, I'll just help him put the GoFundMe together.
There we go. He's not a brewer anymore, so it's legal.
Yeah, yes, it's true. Anyway.
Okay,
Enrico's back. There you go.
This.
So what's going on in the brewery today? What's going on there? You have are there taproom guests right now, or?
Yeah, we have a few taproom guests. I have some help, but sometimes I have to jump in.
No, of course. Hey, trust me, I get it.
John knows.
I know. I am aware.
It's a nice day. It's a nice dry day, as I was saying. So people are coming out.
getting out of the house, getting out of work early, a little earlier, but it's almost it's 4:23 right now.
And walking up and down the Esplanade.
Yeah.
Let's get into that.
I was going to say, why don't you talk about that? Where you're located? Go ahead.
So it's such an interesting place. There is this.
Brian Book said it's a guilty pleasure. He said 100% a guilty pleasure.
There are these 3 blocks on Esplanade on the East Esplanade, and in these 3 blocks you have 5 breweries. Well, 5 breweries, 1 distillery, and transmission places. You can get your a rack installed in your car. You can get your bike serviced. You can get your motorcycle serviced. You can get your brakes done. So amidst all of these things for cars, and I think there's a signage company there as well.
So you got 5 breweries, 1 distillery, and you can get serviced.
Yeah. So
what a lovely block.
It's a really neat area.
Yeah.
Now,
You can bring your car for service and have a beer while you wait.
Honestly, all jokes aside, the overtones to that, or the undertones to that, I should say, are probably not good, but that's actually great, because how many of us have ever gone to get their car serviced and waited and sit there and on our phones or making a phone call, just sitting there having a cup of coffee in the room and watching a TV or watching the news repeat over and over and over again. And
that's the whole thing. You get so damn desperate, you actually go over to that coffee pot, pour yourself some.
Right.
That stuff has been sitting there for probably about 3 weeks.
Minimum 3 weeks. Like, you're the first person that poured that cup in 3 weeks, and it was there for a while before that. So,
and I am absolutely 100% willing.
And it pours out like you ever see Saturday Night Live with Bill Murray, like swill when he's pouring it out of there, right? That's how the coffee pours out of the thing. It's just like ketchup coming out.
But I'm absolutely willing to like drive the car all the way from New Jersey to North Vancouver to get it serviced, so I can sit in either Braggot Brewing, House of Funk, the Cerveceria. So it starts on the western end with the Cerveceria and ends on the eastern end with Braggot Brewing, with beer brewing in the middle. House of Funk is between you and beer brewing. I forget who's between beer brewing and the Cerveceria.
There is Shakedown. Then there is the distillery, which is called the Copper Penny. And then there is a cidery, which is Windfall.
Now, when you get like a little area like this, we see this in the States a lot, where you'll see it when I was in Seattle, in the Ballard area of Seattle, where you get this little concentration of establishments that brew and distill. Is it like a community where you all support each other?
Yes, it has to be like this. It wouldn't work otherwise. Like, it wouldn't work to try to compete against each other. We always work together. We try to organize, passports in which people collect stamps for different breweries.
That's perfect.
People get prizes. We have events together. We have common themes. For example, for Oktoberfest, we had like a tropical theme party in the summer, and they're always successful events. We have sometimes a brewery crawl. We give people buy a $3 ticket and get $3 off from each brewery. Even those ones are a huge success. So it's really good to be part of this.
And a free oil change.
Exactly. Breaks.
It is really one of the neater areas that I got into when I was in Vancouver. And it was funny because we're trying to figure out, there's concentration here, there's concentration over this town, there's concentration here, where we're going to go. I'm like, the variety that sits on East Esplanade, that was it for me. We got a Cerveceria, we got a Braggot Brewery, we've got a Sour Brewery, and 2 standard breweries, a distillery and a cidery. How can I not hit that strip right there? It's just a really neat area to be in.
Yeah, and the good thing is that it's close to public transit. There is the C-Bus, which connects it basically walking distance to downtown Vancouver. Mm-hmm. So people don't need to, they can just simply hop from one brewery to another, take the transit home, don't worry about driving. And
sure.
So wait a second. I could have taken the C-Bus from Granville Island to right where you guys are and back?
Yeah, from Granville Island. You could
I wish I'd known that.
Well, a couple of different things. There is called like a water taxi, I think.
Yeah.
Then the SkyTrain station, which is like a metro. And
right.
Or you could even walk from the water taxi to the C-Bus, which is another little ferry that crosses the Vancouver Harbor. So it's fairly short, I would say. From Vancouver Island here is less than maybe half an hour or so.
Oh God, I wish I'd known that.
Less than an hour.
It would have been a lot of fun to get out in the water. Because we saw the water taxi when we were on Granville Island. And we're like, well, we're not really quite sure where it goes. We got these plans. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. Probably should have really did a little more research before we got to Vancouver. Most of my research was done about the national parks around Seattle, because we did Seattle first. But yeah, it was just really cool being there, seeing that strip. Now I have to imagine when you've got like a row like that with all the industry that's involved there, it's got to be different than places that are more like food and brewery and other kind of shopping establishments, it's got to help with your bottom line as far as rent is concerned than getting into those other neighborhoods where you see some of the other breweries.
Yes, of course. That's one aspect. Of course, we don't have the pedestrian traffic that those areas have, but it's a give and take. So overall, I think the two things balance themselves. Let's say we have this closer to the C-Bus, to the shipyard center, which is about 900 meters from here, less than 1 kilometer. I'm not sure, maybe half a mile or a bit more.
I forget the conversion. I remembered it when I was there because I had to.
I think it's about half a mile walk from here. You have all the restaurants and oceanfront walk and
the shipyards down there.
Shipyard district. There's an ice rink opening now, for example. And then as you walk to the brewery district, you move a little bit further away from that area. But as you said, the rent is not as expensive. So it's more convenient for us, especially that we need the space to brew. So we wouldn't be able to, a lot of us wouldn't be able to pay premium rent to have an industrial space. If you have, let's say, premium rent, you would want to have your entire square footage devoted to serving customers.
Now,
just to the math, it's just over a half a mile.
Just over half a mile. That's what he's doing. So where you're being an industrial, where you are situated, do you know what that space was used for before you?
Before, I think they were selling food for charity.
Oh, okay.
And before that, I'm not sure. But next to us, we have a motorcycle repair shop, and then like a little car dealership, and so it's a light industrial area.
And that's like pretty much, with the exception, I think, of the Cerveceria, all of the breweries basically have like bay doors that can lift up.
Yes.
So they were probably all along those same lines where they were brake shops or tire shops or something along those, which is also good for you because you kind of need a good foundation to put the brewing equipment in on. Right. So you probably didn't have to do too much as far as pouring concrete and reinforcing.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't do anything in any of that. And plus, it's a light industrial area with ocean view. So
it is an ocean view.
Well, it's a light industrial area with ocean views.
Harbor view, actually.
Harbor view, and you can see the ships. You can see people like to sit and look at the water, the sunset over the skyscrapers in Vancouver. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah, see these huge container ships.
I mean, you're both making me jealous because I've been for many, many, many years. I've been planning. I got to get to Vancouver. I got to get to Vancouver, and I just have not gone yet. So I will be out there at some point. I'll bring some beer with me,
it's too much light.
It's a little bit of a glare. But what we did see is the shelves where all the honey products are.
This is true.
We did get to see that.
Yeah.
I'll say one thing about Vancouver. Downtown's cool, but don't make that a priority whatsoever. All the cool stuff is outside of downtown.
I'm sure it's like any other city, though, Dave. Yeah. I mean, that there's cool stuff to do downtown and plenty of cool stuff to do outside of downtown. And because the fact that there's more cool stuff to do outside of downtown is just because there's more area outside of downtown, right? So, and this holds true for any city.
I'm saying that from a beer geek's point of view. All the cool breweries are outside of downtown.
Well, I mean, that's pretty true, too, because, I mean, any breweries that are downtown are paying a much higher rent than breweries that are not downtown, okay?
Yeah, so they're cutting quarters here, there,
exactly.
And so I did open my second beer.
Why don't you tell us what it is?
And I was torn. Like, what do I follow up a golden Braggot with? And not for nothing, I'll save the last sip of it. So this is what I finished the night off with because I want this to be the last thing that I taste. But what this is not a bad idea to finish with. Good restraint you showed there, John. Thank you. This is Hermit Thrush's Brattle beer. So they're out of Brattleboro, Vermont, which is right on the border with New Hampshire. As a matter of fact, I
believe they're closing, actually.
Oh God, that's awful.
It is. I believe they're closing. I did hear that. I'm going to check that right now, but I did
check that. But there's actually a brew pub in Brattleboro, Vermont. That if you're in one of the dining rooms, you're in Vermont. If you're in another dining room, you're in New Hampshire. So I think you pay different taxes depending upon what dining room you sit in. But this is Brattle beer. It is a foeder-aged sour ale with local apples. So, and I've got to say, this was actually a pretty damn good choice to follow this with. They're permanently closed. That sucks. At any rate, but what I wanted is I wanted something that was lighter, but this has a little bit of a tang to it. But it's the apples. It's a very light apple flavor to it. Like the apples don't really take this over. So this actually followed this up rather nicely.
There you go.
I'm enjoying this. And this one's a year old, but I had no qualms about saving this because sour ales, as we know, age exceptionally well, especially Hermit Thrushes.
Hermit Thrush made exceptional sour ales. They really did. I've had many of them, and I haven't had that one, but I've had many of them. And I was actually upset too when I did hear that they were.
Okay,
I didn't know they had already closed. I heard they were closing. Obviously, that news was a while ago, and they've closed since. But
which means I'm taking a run out to Booten and emptying their shelves of.
Yeah, anybody, if there's any Hermit Thrush product in Jersey or anywhere for that matter, get it.
Yeah.
If you like sours, if you don't like sours, don't get it. All right. Yeah. But if you like sours, go get it while there's still some on the shelves because they're done. But and to Hermit Thrush.
Poor one. But I'm not waiting.
And any other breweries that have closed.
No.
In memoriam in the last year. There you go. Right there you go.
It's been rough lately.
Mm. Well, I blame High Noons and White Claws.
Yeah, there we go. And so Enrico, for in Vancouver, or actually let's say British Columbia, the greater area, because I know you're not just in Vancouver. We're seeing in the U.S. we're seeing breweries close and other places close with the
not everybody. So it's not a state of emergency by any means, but it's there's a lot of contributing factors, but it's more breweries that have been closing more so than any other year this year. And it started last year and it increased this year. And I think it's a leveling out. I really do.
Correction,
correct market correction, if you will. I'm at least the hopeful optimist in me is hoping that that's all it is, right? But how is it up in Canada? How is it in Vancouver anyway? Where you are,
British Columbia?
Yeah, I think.
I mean, you have a niche, right? So you're. I don't want to say you're safe, but you're kind of safe, right? I mean, it's not like you're in and amongst 30 other Braggot breweries in your area, that kind of a thing. So go ahead.
Yeah, I think even here, like you hear breweries closing. I forgot how many breweries are for sale at the moment, but they're in the double digits right here. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a combination of the economy and also the fact that we experienced a bubble in microbrewery opening over the past few years. So it's kind of natural that this trend kind of redimensions itself. So it's probably a combination of the two. I don't know how long it's going to last, but of course, people will still keep drinking beer, and at some point, we will find the equilibrium again.
Absolutely,
100%. I agree. Yeah. I don't think, and anybody that goes as far back as Dave and I go, I honestly do not believe that it's going to be something that's going to be a market correction like as bad or as a bursting of a bubble, if you will, as it was in the 90s.
No.
Right. I do not think it's going to be that. I don't.
I certainly hope
there are. Look. We all know, and we've talked about this in every show, and I'll just mention it here, and we can cut it off. But the bottom line is, there's a lot of elements here, right? Seltzers, ready to drink RTDs, ready to drink cocktails, canned cocktails, high noons, stuff like that.
Craft spirits,
THC drinks, CBD drinks,
just marijuana. Period.
All of this is contributing factors to the breweries, and a lot of it is because of Gen Z. Gen Z is now drinking a lot. They're over 21, and they're coming into play, and Gen Z is controlling a lot of that because the millennials before the Gen Zers that liked beer are still drinking beer. The Gen Xers, of course, are still drinking beer. The boomers that drank beer are still drinking beer,
but they're not drinking craft beer.
No. I'm saying the boomers that were drinking craft beer have not stopped drinking craft beer.
You didn't say craft beer. There's not a lot of them, per se.
No, I'm just saying, and any that fell into that category.
But the millennials were
the Gen Zers. There's some millennials right?
But
That are
but,
kind
but,
of.
but the millennials were the first generation because we never obviously got the fact that
We had to go out
fat.
and find our beer when we
No,
wanted.
it
right?
wasn't that. It's that the millennials were the first generation to realize, oh my God, this stuff's fattening. And that's why you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. And so that's why they turned to the hard seltzers. They still wanted their buzz, but they didn't want to get fat from it. And we like our beer, and we don't care.
Yeah, but I'm you know what? There's look. I can have a seltzer, right? I'm not one of these guys that don't like seltzer, and I'm not even talking about hard seltzer, just seltzer in general, right? I can drink seltzer, right? But yeah, have I had a White Claw? Yeah. Have I had seltzers from other breweries that are making seltzer in their tap rooms? Of course. Do I drink a lot of it? Hell no. Right? Because they're flavoring it with flavors. No, whether they're artificial or natural, either or, it's just flavoring, right? The beer, the flavoring is in the malt, is in the hops, is in the yeast. I want that. Yeah, that's what I want.
But then let's try that back to Braggot because Enrico's back.
That's kind of where I was going.
Because there's another level there because, he was talking earlier, there's the grains. There's also the honey. So so
hold that thought 1 second. Ed Meyer just said, I like craft beer. Thank you, Ed. Dave and I appreciate that.
Ed's in our generation. Ed likes craft beer and rock climbing.
There you go.
Oh, and catching big fish. He only catches big fish. He does not catch small fish. He only catches big fish, by the way.
He throws the small ones back.
But to flavoring.
Right.
Now, Enrico, correct me if I'm wrong here. You've owned bees for so long. From what I understand, the honey that you want, that you get, you actually move the hives around to get them to the crops that you want them to make the honey out of. Is this correct?
Yes, and not necessarily at the same time. In the sense that we have been moving the hives around, especially in the past. We were going after pollination. Recently, when we opened the brewery, we don't move them as much because it's just time consuming. So the angle that we take is that the Braggot reflects the flavors of the season, whatever is available in the area. We don't necessarily take them, let's say, to the blueberries, put them right in the middle of the blueberry field as you were doing in the past. A, because it stresses the bees.
Okay.
And B, because in any case, there is an abundance of blueberry fields all around our apiaries, so there is simply no need. Bees fly up to 20 kilometers, which again is probably like 12, 13 miles around the hive. So,
John,
I'm going back to the calculator.
No mathing on the show.
I know there's no mathing on the show, but
that's a rule.
So the only thing we highlight is the fact that different seasons have different flowers around the hives.
Of course.
And so when the blueberry fields have stopped blooming, shortly after, maybe like less than a month, about 2 weeks later, the blackberries start blooming. And the blackberries are huge nectar flows. And in between, there are all the wildflower. There is the clover, the alfalfa, the chicory, mustard, chamomile, all the way to the thistle, and then even the pumpkin. Pumpkin is a very good nectar flow at the end of the season, maybe at the end of August.
Oh wow!
Now, have you ever now? I do have a question, and I'm curious too, as far as beekeeping goes. Have you ever, or does anybody? If you haven't, that's fine. Have you heard of anybody ever, specifically making bees pollinate a specific crop for a specific flavor? Not blackberries and blueberries and blah blah blah. Just one thing, just for that.
Of course. There is it's called monofloral honey. So here, for example, in the Vancouver area, it's very easy to get the monofloral blueberry and blackberry. And there are beekeepers that even go for the fireweed. The fireweed is a flower that grows at higher elevation around the end of August. So they also go for fireweed. And so at that point, they can really claim, okay, we have monofloral honey. And in other part of the world, they have different crops. For example, in California, there's the almond and so on.
Almond honey.
But in our case, we cannot go as far as claiming we have a Braggot made with monofloral blueberry honey or monofloral blackberry honey. But we say Braggot from the spring. So the major nectar flow is blueberry, but there is a component of all other flowers.
Sure.
But yes, it would be very interesting having monofloral honey Braggot. It would be a very purist approach to making Braggot.
Sure. Well, yeah, that's my point. I mean, to your knowledge, is anybody doing that?
To my knowledge, in this area, not many people are doing that. In terms of mead, I know a few beekeepers that are making mead in the Vancouver area and in Vancouver Island as well. But all of them are kind of opposed to having monofloral honey because the honey, let's say, put in the hives in a crop, let's say a blueberry crop, puts stress on the bees. I know, for example, there are honey producers that make monofloral honey, such as the honeybee centers close by here in Vancouver and other places. But to the best of my knowledge, none of the mead makers are using honey. But I'm sure that there are some that do. I just don't know.
I know of at least 2 mead makers that did. John and I are friends with one of them, as a matter of fact. He had a product out called Blossom, and there was a honey maker that specialized in orange blossom honey. That was a delicious mead. He actually then started keeping his own bees, but he didn't have enough of them to begin with to really drive the business with his own honey. So he really only made like 1 batch a year with his own honey. And that one he did not move the hives around. It's whatever honey that his bees made is what he used. There was another meadery. They're gone now. They're in Massachusetts, right by the Rhode Island border, not far from where I work.
That's what was it?
I can't remember the name of them. I still have some of their honey, as a matter of fact. And what they had their hives near. It wasn't fireweed, but it was something similar. It was an invasive species in the area. And the honey it produced was very, very earthy. It had a very, very unique flavor to it. So they were monofloral absolutely intentionally, but they didn't move their hives. They kept them there, and every mead they made was made with that particular honey. So all their meads had this earthy component to it. So they had to work with their flavorings based on that base earthiness. Which was interesting. So it's really, this is one thing I do love about like the mead world is that the mead makers who keep their own bees, to them, the bees are their bread and butter. That's their money makers. So they care about the bees. They take care of the bees, and to hear that they're not moving it around because it's going to stress the bees. Now that's a great thing to hear.
Yeah, there are.
I can't find it. I thought I knew what it was, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, there are many beekeepers that they, let's say, go after pollination contracts, and I'm sure that those will have an abundance of honey to be able to make monofloral Braggot or mead or honey. And say purchasing honey from them would be an easy way to make a monofloral. So from the perspective of a mead drinker, I admit is extremely interesting. From the perspective of a beekeeper, I'm a bit reluctant.
Right. It was called Crave Mead, by the way, John.
Crave, that's it. Crave.
It was Crave that did that. They're gone. Like I said, I still have some of the honey, but I don't have any of their meads left. So, did you just pour your third there, John?
I did, and I'm about.
Okay, so Enrico, we're going to introduce you to shameless product placement on John's part, but he's going to make me jealous. I do want to try what he's going to show us right now.
There you go. So my third beer tonight will be released next week. Possibly this weekend, not sure, but definitely by next week, within the next several days. How's that? And it is, I'm just got to go to this right here. It is this right here is from Coastal Brew Works. It is Vertical Migration. There you go. It is a Schwarzbier. It's 5.7% German style Schwarzbier. And if you see the plankton on the label there.
See, I want plankton from SpongeBob on the label.
Yeah, you know what? I thought about that, but yeah,
sorry, copyright infringement, right?
exactly. Well, something similar to that.
You're not Bolero Snorton. Don't care.
No. And of course, I poured it in proper
glassware. Okay, Enrico. So you're aware, Coastal Brewworks is our sponsor, so we do have to do shameless plugs here and there. We don't mind because not even blowing smoke up John's ass, his brewery does brew some really damn good beer. I've got a bunch in the fridge, and actually, if you see these green cans here, all these green cans, that's all from his brewery.
Mm-hmm.
Right
there you go. So, but yeah, this is just we just canned it the other day. We just kegged it yesterday, and it'll be released either later this week or next week. At the brewery, it'll be out in distribution November 1st. That's why we're debating on whether to release it this weekend or next. But in any event, vertical migration refers to plankton when they at night en masse, they plankton and nectin rise from the depths of the ocean. This is not me. This is Matt.
Okay, so Enrico, the background story here is his partner and head brewer is a marine biologist by trade.
Right.
And so when it's Coastal Brewworks, you get these very, very obscure references to marine biology.
Right.
That's a lot of fun.
So when plankton rises en masse to the surface to feed at night, you almost, if you're in the middle of them rising up, you can't see. It's black. It's just completely like you can't see anything. You can see your hand in front of your face, so to speak, right? That's and that's called a vertical migration, right? So Schwarzbier, dark black lager, there you go. So that's where that comes from. So
I look for it.
There you go. Yes, and it's and cheers to everybody. It is really.
Okay, so John, like you said,
I'll get you. Well, Dave, you're going to get some, but I'll get some out to you, Enrico. Definitely. Have you poured another beer? You still drinking your?
He's
still drinking on your golden elixir?
He emptied his glass.
I haven't had a chance. I can go pour myself another beer, and I'll be back.
Yeah, go for it.
When he comes back, I will explain my third beer because I think he'll be interested in the third one. And you're gonna. And my third one will make you quite jealous, John.
I will catch up on a couple of comments while he walked away. Ed Myers said he likes craft beer before. We set that up. Yep. He said he just got back from climbing.
Okay, so your fingers hurt, but still wrap themselves around a cold beer because that makes them feel better, Eddie.
Exactly. and then Brian Bowe commented his second beer is Ramstein Sommerbach on tap. I got to get up there.
Yeah. November.
Just to let you know, I would have been up there on Sunday to help you brew, but I'm on my way out to Pittsburgh to painfully watch the Giants take on the Steelers.
Get crushed
on Monday Night Football. Yeah.
So my third beer, this is something that Enrico might recognize. It's not his beer, but if you go about 3 doors west, you get the House of Fun.
3 doors down?
3 doors down.
That's a good band name.
And this is Quadrophenia. Quadrophenia is a port wine.
Quadrophenia. That would be a good movie for another band.
Or an album based off the movie. Port wine finished bourbon barrel aged Belgian quad. Because I have an 8 o'clock meeting in the morning, very important one that I just don't care about. But I have poured it in, and this glass is making its debut on the show, John. And this tied back to Vancouver. Remember where did I do the show? Where did I do the show from in Vancouver?
Where did you do the show from?
Okay. I did it from Braggot Brewing.
Oh, yes, you did.
So I poured this into my Braggot. Oh my God! I'm sorry. I'm just going to sit here and smell this for the rest of the show.
Let me ask you a question, Enrico. Because Steve and I have this thing that we talk about all the time. When we get a beer, mead, braggot, cocktail, whatever it is, when we get something in a glass that just smells so incredible, we actually don't drink it right away because we want that aroma to last. We want to just smell it for a while before we start drinking it. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it makes sense. There are a lot of components in the drink that are not really their best appreciated with the nose. And that's why we kind of modulate the strength of our drinks, because the percentage of alcohol is directly proportional to the amount of volatile compounds that come up to your nose.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes when a beer doesn't have too much flavors, you don't need to have a lot of alcohol in it. When the beer has a lot of flavor, also you don't want to have too much alcohol, because otherwise it will be overwhelming.
Sure.
So in our, let's say, spectrum of beers, the stronger beer, the amber, is the one that has, let's say, an average level of volatile components, because the alcohol really brings up those components to the nose very efficiently, let's say.
I will get my ass kicked if I do not share this. So I'm going to go off camera for a second so that people can see that that I don't wear pants on the show. I will be right back.
Please close your camera. There you go. No, he's kidding. So, no, he wears pants on the show, folks. He's got what's that one thing? It's pajama pants, if you will, right? They're sweats basically with print on them. So he just didn't want to show you that. That's all he didn't want to do. But he's got to go share that with his better half, because she will definitely, cut him in his better half if he does not share it with her. So that's why he left for that. So anyway, Enrico, I got to ask you a question. Where in Italy did you grow up?
The place where I grew up is called Reggio Emilia. I would say the closest big city is probably Milan, for many people that are not familiar with
Fair enough.
with that region. It's in the northern Italy. I would say it's at the middle of the north.
Sure, like it's northern Italy, but central. Yeah.
Yes, central, east, west wise.
Gotcha. Because we've actually done. Dave actually was in Italy, and we did a show from Italy, from Pordenone.
From Pordenone.
Oh yeah, in the east side.
Yep. Yeah, the northern east, right? Exactly.
Yeah, northern east. I mean the
northern central.
That's Veneto Friuli. So here's Lucy. Lucy decided to make a showing on the show.
Lucy, look at the camera. Lucy. There's Lucy. Hi, Lucy. Everybody say hi to Lucy.
Hi, baby.
There you go.
Okay. We're going to let you go back out to mommy.
All right, go back out to mommy. Go ahead. There you go.
Or you're going to lie down over there.
Or just lie down in your bed.
Or you're going to steal my socks.
6 of 1. It doesn't matter.
So I'm not going to let Lucy try the beer.
No, it's probably not a good idea.
She wants. No, you can't have the. Okay, no. Now she wants the pretzel. No.
There you go.
So.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, let's put it this way: if Jess and I got the dog that we wanted to get when we wanted to get it, she'd be on the show every. Not Jess, the dog. Would be on the show. On the show every week, because I wouldn't be able to get her off me, and it's my favorite. Well, and I've actually had 2 in the past. It's a Siberian Husky. They are
mouthy.
They're very mouthy, and
they speak back to you.
I actually had one. One was a Siberian Husky. They're both white. One was a Siberian Husky, all white, with 2 different color eyes, a blue and a green eye. The other one I had was a mix, was a like 2/3 Siberian Husky, if you will, 3/4, I guess, however that worked out. And an Eskimo, an Eskimo Spitz, or Spritz, whatever you call it. Yeah,
Spitz are Norwegian.
No, it was an Eskimo. That's what Spitz. Yeah, but
an Eskimo dog.
An Eskimo dog. Yeah, so it was like a blend between the two. But that, again, all white. Basically the same dog, just a little shaggier, a little bit more hair.
Yeah. So Enrico, do you have any pets?
Sorry.
Other than your bees, do you have any pets?
Yeah. Not at the moment. I had in the past also, but at the moment I don't have too much on my plate. I won't be able to take proper care.
Okay. I do not have any pets. I do not have any pets, but Jess does.
You.
Me, right?
Yeah. And you're a little too much to handle sometimes.
All the time, not sometimes. Right. Anyway.
So I see you've got the Oktoberfest banners above your head. So
yes,
we know Oktoberfest is winding down. What's the next event that the block is doing?
So the next event will be the Craft Beer Week, which starts in November. and people will collect stamps on a passport to win glasses from provided by the North Shore Tourism Association. And during the craft beer week, which goes from it's basically the first Sunday of November for 7 days. We'll have an event at each brewery. So our event will be on November 10th, the Sunday, and it will be a Viking Day event. We'll have Viking Day.
I love that.
With, axe throwing, and the most popular thing, which is keg lifting and keg carrying. And whoever manages to carry our 250 liters keg around the breweries will win a pint. And then we'll have our event, the closing event on the 15th at the Pipe Shop here at the shipyard of North Vancouver, where all breweries gather, and we pour our 2 or 3 of our drinks for charity, for the hospital. And
that's I love that.
On the 15th, I think from 5 o'clock till 10 o'clock, if I'm not wrong. So people will purchase an entrance ticket, and then we will have tokens, and it will be 1 token for one drink, 1 4-ounce drink.
I love the fact that it's not just the United States who believes that's a really good idea to get people liquored up and put an axe in their hand to throw at a target. It's not just us. It's all over the place that people do this. That's great. I love the fact that it's for charity. Now, this craft beer week, is it Vancouver, all Vancouver area? Is it North Vancouver? Who's involved?
This one is for North Vancouver, so it's just the breweries in North Vancouver.
Okay.
All this 10 between breweries and or 9 between breweries, distilleries, cidery, wineries in these 2 blocks that you were mentioning before, and even the breweries a bit further east and west from the bridge. There are 2 bridges in North Vancouver,
yep,
connecting the main line. So roughly speaking, within that area,
and both of them are constantly clogged with traffic.
Yeah, frequently.
Very frequent.
Yeah, frequently.
Because I remember taking. I believe we took an Uber out to your area because I wasn't going to drive out there. Oh no, we did drive out there. My bad. We did hit a few other breweries out. The reason I asked is we hit a few other breweries while we were out there. I believe it's Bridge Brewing we went to while we were there. Oh no, it was Walleye. We went to Walleye. That's considered part of North Vancouver. Is that one of the participants?
Yeah. Walleye is closer to the bridge, and then there is another one which is called Bridge Brewing, which is even closer to the bridge.
Yeah. Yeah, they're out there. We did go to Walleye. They make and speaking for someone from the area that is considered the pizza capital of the world, they do make a very good pizza there at Walleye Brewing. I gotta say, we have found good pizza in some of the strangest places, right? Arizona, that pizza that they do in Arizona.
We all know that pizza is a product of. Look, here's the thing, right?
It's a product of love, John. It's a product of love.
Course, it's a product of love, but it's a product of water. Water is because you can get, if you're making your own dough, like if you import the dough from wherever that's really a dough, you can make great sauce. You can import great cheese. You can have great cheese. You can have great toppings. And if you put them together right and you cook them in the right oven at the right temperature, make the right pizza, right? That's going to be a good pizza. So water is the important. The water is the factor, right?
To me, it's more the sauce. Water. The water can be over. The water can be. You can work your way around the water if you're doing like coal fired and all that, and get that char in there, and then you don't have to worry about the water.
Well, here's my thing. Here's my thing, though. You're right when you said it's the sauce, and I don't mean to turn this into a pizza show here, but and you're right when
we're from Jersey. It's always about.
You're right when you said it's the sauce, but it's about everything, right? It's about the dough, it's about the sauce, it's about the cheese, it's about the toppings, it's about everything, right? But you can make the right sauce wherever you are. Just get the right ingredients and know how to do it. You can import the right sauce if you want to just get sauce that's a really good sauce that's from another area or whatever. You can get the right cheese, you get the right toppings. That's my point is you can get that where you are. You can even get the right dough if you get it, trucked in, shipped in, whatever. Right. But if you're making
cheating.
It doesn't matter. It's cheating, yes, but it doesn't matter. You're still going to come out with a good product. But if you're making your own dough and the water is not up to par, you're not going to have a good pizza. That's the biggest, not the only, but the biggest issue of pizza anywhere around the world, not just a country or any state, anywhere.
Bring it back to beer, and then we're going to bring it back to Braggot. This particular beer here.
Well, I was going somewhere with that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where were you going?
That holds true for beer.
It does. The water is the primary
ingredient in beer.
And Braggots.
And Braggot and anything else. Yeah, exactly.
And any spirit.
Right. So you need the chemistry of the water is definitely going to, lend a hand to whether it's, a below average beer or product or whatever, liquid, if you will, an average product or an exemplary product. So that's kind of where I was going with that. Go ahead, continue.
But with this particular beer, there's so many, and Enrico, I'm sure you've come across this as well, where you've got so many beers where the smell is just so amazing. You take the sip of it, and sometimes it doesn't deliver on the promise of the smell. This beer quite does. The port wine finish is definitely there. It's almost even as a mouthfeel. I don't know if you're a fan of port wine.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I love port. John, oh God, yes. John knows I love port wine.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bottles of port right in there.
And the thing is, this will tell you why. This will prove that I'm a bigger port wine lover than John, because he's got 5 bottles. I only have 1 because I emptied the rest of mine. Any rate, and John knows I buy port wine on the regular, but this one has got that. You know how you kind of have that almost cellar mouth feel to port wine. When you drink it, there's that residue that it kind of leaves. That's almost like you were in one of the cellars in Porto. This does that, but the bourbon flavor is actually there as like almost a bit of a tang on the tongue, which is nice.
Tang on the tongue.
It's poetic, is it not?
Tongue tang, if you will.
Tongue tang. But this is still very much a Belgian quad, and I know the port wine's adding to this, but the yeast that Belgians use always throw fruit esters, a lot of fruit esters, beautiful fruit esters, and the port wine is working with these fruit esters, and it's throwing almost a cherry flavor into this, which is fantastic. So anyway, this is your neighbor that I'm speaking about right here, as you know. They do good stuff, and the Goyaza that they serve there is actually quite good as well.
Have you done any? Here's a question, and based on what Dave was, sorry I cut you off, Dave, but you're talking about
take it because this is where I was going.
You're talking about everything you guys do together, right? And the events you have together, and everything you do times the year and everything else. You're
oh boy,
he left and came back. There you go. Times a year, and like you got Craft Beer Week coming up, and you just did Oktoberfest, so forth and so on. Have you done collabs? Any collabs with any of the breweries or anywhere for that matter? But have you done?
Yeah, actually, we did a collaboration with the House of Funk maybe a year and a half ago. We called it Wildflower. So they made a barrel-aged sour using our honey, and it was quite successful. We usually don't venture into the sour realm, but it's kind of the comfort zone of the House of Funk. And our neighbor, we help each other as much as we can. So I think it was a quite successful collaboration, and and then we're looking forward to our other collaborations. We're thinking of having something with the Copper Penny, the distillery, that helps us extract some of the active principles from our Groot to add to our special beer using their purified alcohol. And so on.
Interesting. I like that.
And so the collaboration with House of Funky, it was a beer brewed with your honey. It wasn't a soured Braggot.
I think because they only used a relatively small amount of honey, they decided to call it as a beer, like as a honey sour, rather than using the word Braggot. They could have, but they only use, I think, 2 buckets of honey, which is about 30 kilos for probably was 100 liter.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, 1,000 liter. So, 10 heck. So I think that is better classified as a honey sour rather than.
Have fun with that math, John. John's trying to do the math.
It's about 10 barrels.
Yeah, I was going to say it's about 10 barrels. Yeah.
10 barrels and 10 barrels and 30 kilos is 66 pounds.
So, and there's none of that left, I assume.
Yeah, they put in the whole 66 pounds in the batch, dissolved it, and
8.5 barrels to be exact.
Okay.
Just shy of 9. It's a little over 8. Just shy.
John has broken. See, we have got like 3 rules in the show: no politics, no religion, no math. I actually broke the no religion rule a little earlier. John has broken the no math rule now thrice.
3 times.
And thrice is a word that we are trying to espouse on the show. The word thrice, I don't think it's used enough. I think it's a beautiful word. We're trying to get that out there.
And it was my fault.
It is not your fault at all, John.
Hey, there's conversion, right? Hey, look, you're not, you're not the first Canadian guest we've had on the show, but you're the first Canadian brewery we've had on the show.
This is true.
Plus, I'm European, so I'm used to the metric system.
And there's that too. and you're not the first. You're not the first guest from Italy that we've had on the show, but you're the first brewery owner from Italy that we've had on the show.
Yes.
So there's that.
It's funny because when I went to Italy, I learned a little Italian to go there because I didn't want to be the ugly American and just force everybody to speak English. Because that's what we do when we travel. It's like, if you don't speak English, what's wrong with you? It's the universal language. No, it's not. Well, it's getting there. It's language of business. So I learned some Italian. When I was done with the trip to Italy, I went and learned some other languages.
The problem with him is gabadost right there.
No, don't do that. So please don't do that. So now I'm learning German because...
Well, you're not a thickhead? I mean, come on.
But the one Italian word that has stuck with me, and I use it, I've even used it when I'm speaking German, is perfetto. Because I just love the way that sounds.
I know another Italian phrase you say much more often than perfecto.
What? Perfect? No, there's no C there. Perfetto. It's 2 T's.
Perfetto. I said that.
You should know that. You're half Italian.
I said perfetto. That's what I said.
I heard perfecto.
Okay. You heard wrong because I said perfetto. But there's another. It's not Italian phrase. It's an English with an Italian accent.
Oh phrase. No, it's the bastardized Italian that we have in this area. Yes.
No.
Oh, what's that?
Somebody from Italy said it on the show, and we just keep repeating it.
But it's English. It's very nice.
Very nice.
So the guy from Pordenone, whose bar that we did the show from, he spoke very good English.
He really did.
But he would say very nice, and that was his accent. Very nice. So we say that a lot on the show because we had so much fun on that show. I had such a good time up there, but I got to see more and more of Italy. And you're from Southern Tyrol, right? Just north of Rome.
So I'm from the region where I'm from is called Emilia, which is south of Lombardy and Veneto, where.
Okay. Oh, okay. So you're further north than I thought you were. Okay.
Well, he said
And
it before.
then,
It's closer to Milan, but north. And
then-
I was probably in the other room when you said that, because when I came back, you guys were talking about it.
And then Trentino and Südtirol is just north of. It is between Veneto and Lombardy north, and
Emilia. Oh yeah, Emilia.
Emilia Romagna is
Romano. That's where the Romano. Okay, yeah,
It's where close to a city called Parma, where they make Parmesan cheese, and we're close to a city where it's called a village, right? I think called the Maranello, where they make a Ferrari, the car.
The car,
yeah. You're okay. So it's National Nut Day, right?
Sorry?
That was a joke from earlier on. That's probably inappropriate. Yeah, but so the Emilia Romano area. So that's near Veneto. So it's not too far from Tuscany. It's not far from Moderna.
Exactly. Tuscany is just south. We share the border.
Because
it's Tuscany.
Yeah, because Moderna, I really want to get into Moderna because that's where the acido balsamica is from.
Yeah, Modena, they make balsamic vinegar.
Modena, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think
Lamborghinis.
Lamborghinis.
Yeah, balsamic vinegar and Lamborghinis.
Lamborghinis. And they have.
Since I can kind of afford one and can't afford the other.
You cannot, and the thing is, neither one of us can really afford the best balsamic vinegar.
No, well, that's why I say kind of afford one.
And also in Moderna, there's a ham that they make there, an air dried ham, that is, from what I understand, even more superior to prosciutto. I forget what the name of it is. When we go, we will definitely have to try that. That area, Emilia Romagna, Tuscany, the Moderna area.
You're not talking about speck, are you?
No. Speck's entirely different thing. That's almost.
Well, it's an air dried ham, is what I'm saying.
But it's almost bacon because it's smoked. Right.
Right.
No, we got that when we were in Pordenone. And frankly, everyone talks about the prosciutto di Parma, but I like the prosciutto di San Daniele better. Actually, as a matter of fact, I think it's more delicate.
I like Danielle. Yeah, better.
No, not your ex-girlfriend Danielle. We're talking about the ham.
So am I.
Oh, okay. Just in case Jess is listening. But, no. So yeah. So I may have to reach out to you, Enrico, and ask if we get out into that area. It's like, where do we need to go? Since how old were you when you left Emilia Romagna?
I was 28.
Oh, good. So you're still a good source.
There you go.
Because what legal drinking age in Italy is what, 16?
When I was there was no drinking age. I think you're right. I think you might be right now. I'm not.
I think it's 16 now.
Now it's 16, but back then there was none. Yeah,
there was no drinking age.
Yeah, exactly. It was just something that wasn't regulated. It was just here, have wine. Happy 5th birthday.
But that's the whole thing in Italy. Even if there is a legal drinking age, I don't think wine's part of that. I don't think they consider wine even an alcoholic beverage sometimes in Italy. It's just
grape juice.
It's the lifestyle, right?
Right.
It's the lifestyle there. And oh God, it's one place that I go to on this planet that I don't really look for beer. I want to drink the wine. Definitely want to drink the wine. So what else is going? What else is in the future for?
That's what I was going to say. What are you doing for the holidays are coming up? You mentioned Craft Beer Week in November.
Before we get to holiday, I do want to ask you something. Right now in the United States, we are in full blown pumpkin ale time, where they just dominate the show.
Kind of winding down a little bit now, but go ahead.
Yeah, but it's the
22nd of October. They're kind of done after and some of them linger because some people will drink them for Thanksgiving, but they're kind of the mass marketing of them are kind of done after Halloween.
So Enrico, John makes me do a pumpkin show every year.
We did it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we did 2 weeks ago, but
I make him. Like he has no say, right? I make him.
You're the showrunner. Yes, you make me. But do you
You're just like the guest we have every year on the show.
pretty much? You and Sarah Dubsky run the show, and actually, most of the entertainment is my discomfort on this stuff that they make me drink. But you don't give in to the pumpkin craze. You did say that your bees do hit the pumpkin flowers.
Correct. Yeah, but we don't, as you said, you're right. We don't really go.
You're not making a pumpkin braggot by any means.
With our beer, like external other ingredients than our honey and maybe a little bit of herbs such as hops for most of the honey and this groot for this variety. But other than that, we really don't want to use anything that would cover the flavors of the honey, because then we could have just used the grains, which are much less expensive than honey. But having said that, a lot of brewers even here, they kind of ride these trends of pumpkin ales, and then darker beers always in the winter become more popular. Brewers try to spice them with spruce needles.
Sure.
Ales with spruce needles, which is very neat.
I do enjoy a good spruce ale, but I'm not sure if I would like that. But maybe I would. I don't know.
Yeah. And but yeah, in that sense, we don't really follow those trends.
Those trends, right? I just looked really quick. Go ahead. I'm sorry. You were going to say? There we go.
Yeah, but a little bit of pumpkin honey will be in our braggot, but instead it will be just a minuscule amount, because you know how much.
It's just going to be a base. It's going to like it's going to accentuate any of the main flavors that are in that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So I just looked really quick, Dave. I'm just sorry. I just looked really quick. There are a few breweries that actually do a pumpkin braggot. One of them is actually one of my favorite breweries from Michigan. Coonan Brewing, you know.
Oh, Coonan! Oh, yeah, they
do it.
And what I love about Coonan is they're not just a beer brewery. They do get into meads. They do get into so many different.
They do a lot. They do a lot, yeah. But they have a pumpkin braggot. They have a chocolate pumpkin braggot. They have a home opener pumpkin braggot. I can only imagine that was something that was done for the Tigers because they're in Michigan. They have they pumpkin braggot, chocolate braggot again. Yeah, so it's pumpkin chocolate braggot, the home opener. And then whatchamacallit, they're what's the other one I saw? Oh, Fegley's does a pumpkin braggot too. Fegley's.
Okay. I would trust Coonhen a lot more than Fegley's.
No, Fegley's. No. I agree with you. I would. I like Coonan. Nothing bad to say about Fegley's by any means, but I like.
But Coonan, because Coonan is they're more familiar with working with honey in a brew,
of course,
than Fegley's is.
But my point being is you have to go out of your way to find it in this particular area. Like anybody in Jersey can access Fegley's a little bit easier than Coonan.
So they're right across the.
You want to try it? Yeah. Go over there. Go to Bethlehem.
I don't recommend it too much. They're never coming on the show, so I can say that.
Actually, they'll be on the show next week.
They're not. We know who's on the show now.
Nobody's on the show next week.
But where I was going with this, Enrico, so now we're getting into the colder weather. So when the colder weather occurs, we look into darker brews. One of the beers that I had in the flight while I was there, one of my favorites was Dark Ages. So if the colder weather, do you accentuate the darker braggots? Do you get into like that, those beefier sort of grains, and pair those, because you were talking earlier about how you pair your grains and your honeys, so you get the earthier honeys with the darker grains for the colder weather.
Yeah, correct. So you're right. The Dark Ages is probably one of the most popular braggots in the fall and winter. It's made with our late summer honey, which has an abundance of Himalayan balsam. It's a flower. There's an invasive species. It almost looks like an orchid.
Say that again. What kind of blossom?
Himalayan balsam.
Oh, Himalayan. Okay.
Himalayan balsam. Some people call it balsam flower. It makes a really dark honey. Not as dark as buckwheat, but really like a dark barrel wood, I would say, colored. And it's a very intense flavor. It can be
Yes.
overwhelming even when you eat it by itself. I discovered it the first time that I moved my bees from Vancouver Island to Vancouver, because there's a lot of balsam in Vancouver. And we combine it with, as you were saying, like dark roasted honey, such as the malt profile used in the stout. And we find that that matches really well, because there's an intense flavor of the honey, an intense flavor of the grains given by that smoky
like a
notes.
black patent or a chocolate stout or a chocolate roast.
Yeah, dark chocolate malt, so you get the notes of chocolate, you get a note of smoke, a bit of coffee, and combined with that honey that almost has a spice to it. If you have the honey by itself, it almost tickles your throat due to the level of intensity of the honey, and it's one of the best sellers. But having said that, even better sells this brown ale, which is what I'm drinking now.
Oh, I had that.
The glass. This is made with late summer honey. There's not much Himalayan balsam in there, but there is thistle, chamomile. The honey tends to get darker with the season. And we combine it with a malt which has not been roasted as dark, so it's not as smoky. You get like some caramel, some deep colors. The aftertaste almost reminds me of licorice, although there's no licorice whatsoever. And this is probably, I would say, the most popular drink we have around this time of the year, all the way till maybe February, March, when the good sunny days start coming up again, and people try to start going back to something like Sunset Orange or the Golden Elixir or the Amber.
What's interesting is I've gone back to some of the tasting notes that I put down with when I was there, going through the flight. So I'll start off with the dark ages, as what you talked about with some of the flavors that came out from the roasted malts and the honey. Is one of the tasting notes I put down is it kind of had like a treacle kind of flavor to it, like that kind of like treacle for the listeners that really haven't ever had it. It's kind of almost like take molasses and burn it a little bit. But not to the point where it's overwhelming. It's not an unpleasant flavor whatsoever. So I really enjoyed that with it, that it had that good strong flavor. There's this enriching flavor to dark ages that I really enjoyed.
Oh, thank you.
The brown ages, the tasting notes I put in that one was, this is the braggot that every craft brewery tries to make and completely fails at doing. This is the way that it's supposed to be done. This is the right balance between malts and honey to give you that. Because remember, at the beginning of the show, I said that so many of us think of a braggot as a dark beer with honey in it. Mm-hmm. And that's what you just held up, that particular style. But most craft breweries don't do it right. Most craft breweries, for the most part, I believe, when they deal with honey, they don't ever have the temperature right. And I don't know if can you speak about that a little bit, about where the temperature range needs to be? Because I feel that a lot of times when you get a craft brewery where they're brewing beer, I feel that when they work honey into it, they've got they add the honey at too high of a temperature. And they pull too many burnt elements out of the honey when they do that.
Yeah, you're perfectly right. I think one of the key elements that is often overlooked is the yeast in the beer production, the fermentation. And the yeast is very susceptible to the temperature. So it is very important to ferment at the exact temperature in the comfort zone of the yeast.
Also, it's not the boil temperature; it's the fermentation temperature.
It's the fermentation temperature. So we boil it. Obviously, 100 degrees. You're limited by the evaporation of the water, and then after the warmth and it goes to
at 100 degrees Celsius. Get that straight, bro. Just make sure that
100 degrees.
That's 100 degrees is not boiling. Fahrenheit. Yes.
I didn't mean to math again on the show.
That's actually not mathing. That's acceptable.
And
Anyway, continue. Yeah, there you go. 100.
and,
So get it boiling and go ahead.
So we get it boiling, we let it boil, same as a regular beer. And then when the wort cools down after the heat exchanger, we mix in the honey. So the honey is not exposed to high temperature of the water, which would kind of change the flavor of the honey.
I call it a little burnt. Right?
Yeah, a little burn. It would form some like additional double bonds in the honey, and it would kind of like change the organoleptic properties of the product. And then we put in the fermentation. And the fermentation, I think, is where really the critical temperature, the temperature plays a critical role.
Right.
Because, for example, the yeast that we use, its comfort zone ranges between, I would say, 15 and 22 degrees Celsius, which is, now I'm not sure in Fahrenheit, but it's, let's say, less than around maybe 60 Fahrenheit. And so this is what differentiates usually commercial breweries from home brewers, because commercial brewers have the ability to control the temperature of fermentation. And the lower we stay within that range of temperature, the better yeast performs, in the sense that it doesn't develop products, or let's say compounds, like esters or other things, that confer these extra fruity or extra floral notes that are somehow artificial and go and cover the flavors that we want to, that they are conferred by the honey. And so it would be very easy to let the temperature go, let's say, higher without controlling it, and have a very fast fermentation. Would be good from a business perspective because we have a turnaround faster, but then the flavors wouldn't be as clean, and we wouldn't do justice to the honey.
I think that's key right there. And I know that a lot of people who work with honey, a lot of the meat producers use a champagne yeast. Is that you're not using? Are you using a champagne yeast?
No, just can't clarify what you said. Mead producers, not meat producers, right?
Mead. Yes. So to work with the honey, that champagne yeast works with honey very well.
Yeah, you're right. So champagne yeast works very well with honey, and ale yeast or other yeasts work very well with lager yeast, with
the grains.
With grains. We find that ale yeast is a good compromise between the two. They can take care both of the honey and the grains, but
because of the temperature, right?
Because of the temperature, the lager yeast too. The lager yeast requires a much colder temperature, the colder the better. Even in the, I would say, low 40s.
40s,
if I'm not wrong. But the yeast that we use is actually somewhere between the two. It's somewhere between an ale yeast and a champagne yeast. So originally we started with these two batches, and then we keep selecting our yeast from the top of the fermenter in the first few days of fermentation, and we keep it alive for the next cycle, because each brew, it kind of specializes itself to the specific sugar profile of the brew, and our sugar profile is quite unique because we're not like other breweries.
Yeah, I imagine.
So you're propping your own yeast.
Exactly. The other alternative would be to use ale yeast and champagne yeast. Ale yeast at the beginning, champagne yeast toward the end. So the ale yeast takes care of the sugars from the malt, and the champagne, the one from the honey. But with our own yeast, we kind of manage to take care of both at the same time.
And do you prop from batch to batch, or do you have a mother that you keep that then gets but then parceled out into the different batches?
We do a bit of both. We have a mother that we keep, and we kind of try to keep alive. And then if we do like one batch close to another, sometimes it's easy to take it straight there.
From one to the other, sure.
It's already going, similar to what the bakers do, going back to the pizza.
Yes. Especially in San Francisco when they do their sourdough, yes.
Exactly. Throw this up really quick. Brian Boak just chimed in. He said his third beer is a Boak's beer, Brown Magic English Mild.
There better be some when we come to the tailgate.
Well, no. I have he can bring some too, but I actually have a bottle that's been sitting in my fridge since he gave it to me for me and you to drink. I did not drink it myself. I had some at the tailgate.
If I have some at the tailgate come the Commanders game, you can feel free to drink that by yourself.
Drink it by myself.
Yeah, I'll be bringing some good stuff.
Fair enough. There you go.
Anyway, so Enrico, so Brian Book's he's a friend of the show. He's a personal friend of both of ours. He participates in a lot of the bullshittery that we do. He knows what we're talking about. He was a brewer in New Jersey for a while. He's one of the OGs in the state. He even though he closed the brewery down, he still brews his beers, and we still get to partake in some of those every now and then. So, to Brian,
there you go.
What do you say we do the top threes there, John?
I think it's time for the top threes. What do you, Brian just commented. Hold on one second. He said, "Just remind me to bring some. I have 2 more kegs if I kill this one." There you go.
Oh, he's going to kill it tonight. You know he's going to
kill it tonight. There you go. So let's do the top threes. Tonight's top 3 list, for those of you that don't know, and I'll say this, anybody a long-time listener, you know the story, but I'll say this for Enrico right now. We do a top 3 list.
It's a U.S. thing. So you have to explain to him. It's a US thing.
So in the United States, there was prohibition. I'm not sure if you learned of that. Prohibition back in 1990.
Yeah, Canadians don't know anything about prohibition.
Right, but it ended in 1933. It ended in 1933, so three threes. There's 2 of us, 3 threes. So top 3 list. That's why we do it.
Because the one thing I'll say is the Canadians.
Well, I'll say if we do a top 5 list, it would go on for an hour because we don't.
Or top 10, whatever.
Top 10, forget about it.
Because the Canadians have their priorities right.
There you go. Exactly.
They don't. If you want to drink. That's it's.
How about it? Right.
Play hockey, drink beer.
There you go.
That's a Canadian way of life. Gotta love that.
There you go. All right, tonight's top 3 list is top 3 favorite uses for honey that are not alcoholic. Top 3 favorite uses for honey that are not.
And I guarantee all 3 of us struggled with this list.
Oh no, I have my top 3.
I've got my top 3, but
I did my top 3. I mean my top 3 are my top 3. So if the 2 of you mention all 3 of my top 3, my top 3 is not changing because they're my top 3. So
mine are so specific. I really don't think I'm going to touch any of yours.
Fair enough. All right.
But we always let the guests go first. Guest has honor on this.
Please have at it. Enrico, give us your top 3.
So my top 3 use of honey. So the first one is, as I said, I'm a purist, so I like to enjoy honey by itself.
Just a spoonful of honey.
Just a spoonful of honey, and it's flavorful, it's healthy. My second favorite use of honey, I prepare my own kind of medicine for the winter. I put orange zest, I put some herbs, and I use it as a medicine. And
honey, herbs, and what was the other thing?
Orange zest, pollen, and bee propolis. So the bee propolis is the glue that the bees use to seal the hives on the winter, and in traditional medicine has been used as antiseptic, antibacterial, kill virus. And I make this mix myself, and it's really helpful, especially with sore throat and colds. And my last and my family's favorite use of honey is with milk.
Honey right in milk.
Yeah.
That is so simple. It's genius.
Exactly.
Now, warm milk or cold milk?
Lukewarm.
Lukewarm. Okay.
You don't want to heat it up too much because again it changes the flavor of the honey. But again, cold it's possible.
Because I've done it before as a sleep aid where I've warmed up milk. I've not put the honey in first. I've warmed up milk, put vanilla and honey in it as a sleep aid. Because vanilla has some soporific qualities to it, does it not?
Yeah.
So.
And also the calcium of the honey helps with sleep, as I've heard.
Yeah. I've
heard too. All right, Samurai, your 3.
There's no order to this, John. So good luck in putting that into your database.
It doesn't matter. The order you give them to me, it doesn't matter how you give them to me, whether there's an order or not. I go 3, 2, 1. So there you go.
And it may be in that order. So one of the things I love is how honey and peanut butter pair. It's such a great. I love toasting an English muffin, drizzling some honey over it, spreading peanut butter over the honey, and then sprinkling cinnamon on it. So when you first mentioned earlier on the show that you would your first mead had cinnamon in it, it's like cinnamon and honey. That it's a beautiful pairing. But when you add peanut butter to it, put that on an English muffin. That's one of my favorite breakfast things to do. I absolutely love that. That's one of my. That's that. There's one there. One thing when I really could chew hard candies. So many of the honey producers, especially in this region, they produce a candy that is a honey sesame candy. And the flavor of sesame and honey, I love that combination. Love honey sesame candy, so put that in there. This might be 3, 2, 1, John. Actually, no, the honey sesame candy is probably 3. The English muffin is probably 2. Number 1, and it's funny that you brought it up as a medicine. Anytime that I feel like I might be getting some sort of cold, some sort of throat, something that's coming on, I make a toddy. And a toddy, especially in this country, it's bourbon, it's honey, it's cinnamon. I will throw star anise in it sometimes. Lemon juice is very, very important in a toddy.
Of course.
But
it's one of the main. I mean, other than the bourbon and the honey,
bourbon, honey, lemon.
Bourbon, honey, lemon. Honey, lemon, and hot water.
Those bourbon, honey, lemon. Those are the main ingredients as far as the medicine's concerned. The cinnamon, the star anise, anything else I throw in it was just flavoring at that point. So that is probably one of my favorite things to do. Oh, we did say non-alcoholic, didn't we?
It doesn't matter because you can make it without the bourbon.
You can make a toddy without it.
You can make a toddy without the bourbon. So
and if you do, you're not a friend of mine.
But you can, though, is my point. So.
You actually can. So if I have to go with one that's actually not alcoholic, I would have to say it is. There's been times where. So when you make a chicken patty or a chicken cutlet, it's flour, it's egg, it's breadcrumbs, and then you deep fry it. There's times, especially for a chicken sandwich, what I like to do is rather than that flour and egg, I like to dredge the chicken in honey and then roll it in the breadcrumbs and then fry that.
There you go.
Use that as a chicken sandwich with some mayonnaise and some Dijon mustard and some Swiss cheese. And there's just something about that combination that I absolutely love as a flavor combination. So if we're going to stick to the no alcohol rule whatsoever, then put that in. Or you can throw it as an honorable mention, John, whatever you want to do.
No, there you go. All good. All right, mine.
Yours.
All right. So not riffing on, but I mean, this was mine regardless of what you said, Dave. Yep. On your number 2, an English muffin with peanut butter and cinnamon. On toast with butter. So I make a cup. I always do at least 2. If not, I'll put 3 in. A couple piece of good toast. Whether it's white, the toast is almost irrelevant.
I don't think it is. I think
no. For me, I'm saying for this particular thing.
But I think honey and wheat toast just.
No. I'll do white. I'll do wheat. I'll do rye. Rye is actually interesting. I'll do whole grain. I'll do 7 grain. 9
grain, 20 grain, 13 grain.
Doesn't matter, right? I'll do right. So the toast, the bread, the flavor from the bread, unless it's just overbearing, like it's not pumpernickel by any means, right? But although that might be interesting, I've never tried it with that. But rye is probably about the furthest I pushed it, right? But the toast with just the toasted, burnt almost, if you will, not over toasted, not super crunchy, but not just lightly toasted, medium toasted toast. Butter, a good amount of butter, Irish butter, something almost like a sweet cream butter.
Irish butter is the best,
right? And then honey over that. Done right there.
Nice and simple, yeah.
Nice and simple. That's my number 3. My number 2. For Enrico's number 2, he says his medicine with honey, herbs, orange zest for the winter. not necessarily medicinal at that point, but anytime I have a scratchy throat, I go into the cabinet and I pour myself a spoonful of honey. I might even take 2, depending on how scratchy my throat is, and it's not scratchy, at least for a while anymore at that particular point. So the honey definitely coats it and makes it so much easier.
So that's his 3 and 2, actually, because just a spoonful of honey and the medicinal properties of it.
Sure, exactly.
Yeah.
And then my number 1, and this might be weird, it might not.
On bratwurst?
On brats, no, I'm kidding.
No.
In tea specifically, honestly, and this might be weird, but for me it works. In Earl Grey tea.
Oh, so that's very, very British, and you're like German and Italian. So has
you know what? I like Earl Grey tea, and I don't and I drink Earl Grey tea without honey, mind you too. But if I'm going to have honey in tea, Earl Grey seems to work the best because the properties in the black tea and especially that definite difference of flavors you're getting out of Earl Grey with the honey blend perfectly for me. So there you go. So on toast with butter, spoonfuls for a scratchy throat, and in Earl Grey tea. Those are my 3.
Honey and tea. That's almost a given.
There you go. Those are my 3.
Do you have another question for Enrico?
Go for it.
Of all the things that you produce, you've got your braggots, you've got your honey products.
Mm-hmm.
All those things you produce, what is the one product that you use at home more than anything?
Definitely.
Of those products, not just any product, of those products.
Yeah, definitely the honey. Okay.
Just a straight up honey. Any of the specific honeys, or just whatever honey your bees have produced that particular month, season?
Usually we use I bring honey, the summer white flower, which we have an abundance of it. We have a lot of it. And we go through a pail, like in less than a month. we consume an exaggerated amount of honey.
Nice.
And also, I even put it in my wounds when
really?
Yeah, it really helps heal and the skin and stop the blood.
Well, because honey's got that viscosity that'll stop the blood, but honey is also antiseptic.
Yeah, antiseptic.
So it'll
concentrated.
It'll block any germs from coming into the wound, right?
Yeah.
So that's why if you make a mead, and that's the question I want to ask you earlier, and I completely forgot about this. So when brewers get into brewing, one of the most forgiving things to make is a mead, because honey is antiseptic, right? So it actually getting infected is kind of a hard thing to do with a mead. Do you find the same thing with a braggot, where you don't have as high of a risk of infection in a braggot as you would in a beer?
Well, in a sense, yes. But having said that, the alcohol percentage that we use is ranges between 5 and 11.9%, which is the limit given by our license. So 11.9%, you really taste the alcohol. The alcohol is a contributing factor to the antiseptic properties of the product. But for the light varieties, you're right. It's harder to have the wort, and it's hard to get the infection in during the manufacturing process. But afterwards, it's just as easy as for a beer, because there's only 5% alcohol or 6 or 7% alcohol, so it wouldn't prevent bacteria from going in.
There you go.
So what prevents usually bacteria or beer to deteriorate at that point is the presence of the hop, which in beers such as IPAs or stuff like this, it's a big contributing factor, because our beer is not as heavily hopped. Our braggots are not as heavily hopped. We have less chances of having an infection early in the process, but we have more chances of an infection later in the process.
But you do use hops in braggots.
We use hop in braggot. We don't use as much as a regular beer, because again, hop is a flower, has a very nice aroma, but this nice aroma can't compete with the aromas of the flower. So we're very careful when we add hop. Sometimes we add only to the boil. We don't add it in the fermentation, except maybe for a variety. And so not adding the hop in the fermentation can be a bit more challenging. But anyway,
what hops do you use in your braggots? Are they designed to step away and just do more of the antiseptic and bittering portion, or are they there to add flavor?
We like to use bitter gold. It's a variety T90 bitter gold. It's a very high in alpha acid, so we need to use just a little bit of hop to
get that bittering, right?
Nice bitterness, and it has a very floral aroma. In addition, we like to use fresh hops. Fresh hops are only available usually mid-August, mid to end of August, and we freeze as much as we can, and we try to use the whole flower. We need to use a lot more volume because the flowers are very light than when they're pelletized. But we tried once brewing with fresh hops, and we are really big fans of fresh hops. They confer flavors like nothing else. In my personal opinion, I know many people may disagree, but I think the worst fresh hop is superior than the best pelletized hop to my personal palate.
Absolutely, 100% agree with you. Yeah,
I am a huge fan of fresh hops, and anybody that watches the show knows that, and anybody that will watch the show in 5 weeks,
yes,
will know that too. So.
Yes, fresh hops are superior than the worst fresh hop is superior than the best freeze dried hop.
I'm sorry.
Pellets.
We have a farm here in Pemberton, which is not far from Vancouver, where I go
for 5 weeks.
Personally go physically get the fresh hops during the harvest, and hopefully we still have for like maybe 10 batches. And,
so Vancouver. When you talk about Vancouver to Americans, Vancouver is a different country to a lot of America, right? It's definitely in a different country. So we think of things differently, but when you talk about the hop farming in the Pacific Northwest, Vancouver that's Pacific Northwest. So with hops, they are plants. So they have a terroir, right? You're Italian. You absolutely know what the hell terroir is, right? You get because of the grapes and all that in Italian wine. Are the terroir in British Columbia, the hops grown there, do you get the same terroir as you do from like the Yakima Valley in Washington? And that it's very similar.
Yeah, I would dare to say that they're similar to the hops in Washington because the soil and the weather are similar. Maybe Vancouver is slightly more wet than the Seattle area or Washington State, but not that much, I think. And also, I'm not a geologist, I'm not an expert, but I would have to say like we have like same geology, so volcanic type of soils and similar rock formations. So I think there is a similarity in the hops in this region, but again, I'm not an expert in
it would just make sense because of the proximity you are to Washington. So
make sense to me. Let's make this clear. The line between Washington and British Columbia is a political line. When you talk about geology, when you talk about ecology, we're talking pretty much the same region, right? Whereas that was the point. That's the reason I brought it up. Is it's a geopolitical line. So when we're talking about terroir, when we're talking about climate, when we're talking about soil, when we're talking about that, we're still.
They don't change the soil or the rock or the minerality of the soil.
Just
at
a different
the line,
country.
Right? It just doesn't happen, right? It's
right.
Plain, right.
So that's kind of why I asked the question. But yeah, no, it's interesting to see how you use hops in a braggot that differ than the way hops are used in the craft beer world, where hops tend to be the major flavorant. Whereas where you're doing a braggot, you're concentrating more on the different flavors of the honey and how they interact with the grains more so than what the hops. The hops are there to pretty much balance out the sweetness than it is to add too much flavor to it. Yes, you did mention there's a florality to it. But again, that's probably more of a balancing agent than it is a flavoring agent.
Right.
Yeah, you can definitely taste the hop in our braggots, I would say. but is not overwhelming. I mean, you taste the hop, the level you would taste it in a German lager or a Czech pilsner.
Right.
So of course they use Saz. Saz confer a bit more of a grassy note
Absolutely.
as opposed to floral notes. We use the floral notes, but the level of intensity of the hop in a Braggot is similar to those styles of beer. So as you said, they are one component, and that component has to kind of marry the honey component and the malt. Of course, the malt always is there in any beer or Braggot. But the two, hop and honey, have to be like almost at the same level, or maybe the honey a little bit more in our case. We wouldn't want the hop to be the dominant that overwhelms the honey.
I'd say of the seven examples of your brackets that I had while I was there, the honey was always the star. The whatever flavor that you want to get out there, and when you got into the darker beers, yes, the malts then started to exert a little bit more, but definitely in the lighter ones, your honeys, the flavors from the honeys, really are really what came forward.
Right.
Yeah. Especially, I would dare to say there are many honeys, and what we used to think of honey when we buy honey from the stores are typically the light honeys.
And the little squeezy bears, right?
Yeah, they're usually light honeys. Yeah, which are the honeys that we use in the golden and maybe the amber. But as we transition to the darker drinks and the darker honeys, the honeys are quite different. I had people tasting our dark honey and telling me, but this doesn't taste like honey at all. And I'm saying, this is pure honey.
It's honey. How can it not taste like honey?
Exactly. All right. What do you have on the schedule, if you will, for 2025? Anything coming up different, or just
other than the Gruit Braggot?
Other than the Gruit Braggot, you said.
Yeah. So the Gruit is a big component. We're trying to. This is just going to be an experiment and see how it goes, and then we'll decide how to plan the 2025. The 2025 season, we plan to, of course, provide the same varieties we have. And also try other citrusy varieties similar to the Sunset Orange. The Sunset Orange has been a big hit since the first batch.
Right.
And I think there is room for other citrus fruits, maybe lime, maybe lemon, maybe grapefruit or other things.
And how are you adding those flavors in? Is it from...
Yeah, so that's a very good question. We only use the zest. Originally, we used the... We use the juice of the orange as well, but the juice confers too much acidity, especially after fermentation. It becomes maybe a bit too tart, and the tartness clashes with the honey a little bit.
Right, and lime's a different acid entirely than some of those other fruits.
Exactly. But adding just the zest is just the best compromise because it gives the flavor of the citrus fruit. It gives the bitterness, which again complements the bitterness of the hop. So people that are used to drink bitter drinks from the hop, kind of pleasantly surprised, but a bitterness that is not necessarily hop, but is the zest, and yet you don't have the acidity of the juice. So
you're not changing the pH level of the product.
Exactly.
So you're not killing the yeast if the pH is off, right?
Yeah, and then the zest is filled with essential oils, which are again volatile compounds. And they marry very well with somehow the honey and the malt and the hop, but especially the honey. Anybody can experiment and try to have a simple hot drink, as you were saying before, with honey, in tea, with like a slice of a wedge of orange or lemon, and just the flavor is perfect. We also want to try to we are selling other hive products such as candles, and even try to make candles with the same concept. So using maybe grind orange zest in the wax that we extract from the hives. When we extract the honey, all the cappings turn into wax, and mix candles with the wax, and mix the wax with the orange zest, and then when the candle burns, has a natural flavor to it that flavor like perfume, aroma, smell that. Given by the wax, which is very honey-like, and and the zest. So it's going to be like a solid and vapor version of the Sunset Orange.
Very nice.
That is very nice. And that's very nice.
Very nice. There you go.
We'll add that in there. That's amazing. And so these citrus flavors, where you're using the zest, you're adding this to the lighter color, the lighter colored Braggots rather than the darker, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the dark are quite intense, so they go well maybe with other type of groots that we'll experiment, or dark malts, and
yeah, of course.
Very nice. Awesome. All right. Anything you want to put out there before we wrap up the show? Anything else you want to say about the brewery, or what you're coming up in a couple weeks, or anything like that? Or
well, first of all, I'd like to thank you very much for having me here. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Pleasure to talk to you. Are you kidding me?
Absolutely. I love the fact that we were able to clarify some of the confusion of what a Braggot actually is.
Sure.
You know, I've said it to you many times. We don't really understand in this country, in the craft beer community, what a Braggot actually is. We know what a beer is. We know what a mead is. What's that in between? I think you did a wonderful job of explaining it to everybody what a Braggot actually is.
I've only been aware of 2 Braggots that have been done in New Jersey. There may have been more. I'm personally only aware of 2 that were done in New Jersey. Flying Fish's exit 3, I believe it was.
Maybe
3. And they're blueberry Braggot, and Melavino with Cypress and Teuton. They did 1, 2, 3.
That's correct.
Which was a Braggot with.
And no offense to either one of those, and we know damn well that Melavino made. They're gone.
They're gone now. Yeah,
made some of the most amazing meads we've ever had. And I've had both those that you're talking about. They do not stand up to the actual Braggots that Braggot Brewing makes.
Of course, no. This is my point, right?
Yeah,
they were fair attempts at them.
Yeah,
and there was nothing not physically, but particularly wrong. It's like physically wrong now.
It's a liquid.
There's nothing particularly wrong with them.
Oh, that's where you're going. Okay.
But no, and when you come right down to Braggot and any producer such as Enrico or anyone else that is making actual true Braggots and has control over the honey and everything else that Enrico's doing, of course it's going to be more markedly better. Yeah. And I'm sure they would all agree.
So. I will absolutely want, considering I've had all the products that we're talking about right now, and John, when you ever get the honor to drink what Enrico is making, you'll come to me and go, "Oh my God, I never understood what a Braggot was."
No, yeah, well, see, that's the thing. I mean, I've had other Braggots, right? I don't.
No, you haven't. You've never had a Braggot.
I've had other liquids that were marked as Braggots.
They're called Braggots.
Right? But I don't expect that any of them can hold a candle to what Enrico is doing. And I'm not blowing smoke up anybody's ass by saying that.
Well, because you haven't had it.
Because I haven't had it, right? Just based on what Enrico, what you're talking about, and what Dave has said to me when he was there, and what he said tonight.
I got a little bit of it left.
I can't imagine any of them could hold a candle to what you're doing. So.
And again, that was a great little marketing ploy there. You said candles to get everybody to understand that Enrico's going to be making candles.
Please use it. Have at it.
Yeah. There's gratuitous plug right there.
There you go. But in any event, I in turn thank you for doing it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's while we're out there, the second we started talking, it came into my head. We need to have Enrico on the show. This is a topic that we've not covered. This is a topic that I think so many
100%
craft beer people in the world completely misunderstand. And
100%.
we really thank you for clearing that up for us. And the shame of it is that most people who listen to us can't actually get to a real Braggot. Vacation in Vancouver. It's beautiful. There's so many things to do there.
Go to Vancouver, get up to North Vancouver, hit the breweries on the road, and
don't waste your money on the the suspension bridge park. There's so many places to do a suspension bridge. You don't need to waste your money on the tourist trap.
I've had it. I mean, do what you want to do, but make sure you get here.
Yeah. I'll talk to me first. I'll tell you where to go. And don't waste your money. But definitely get out there. And if you do, East Esplanade. That needs to be one of your first destinations. There's so much cool shit happening there. Not at all least the easternmost place to drink there, Braggot Brewing.
Absolutely. And if you're out there and you haven't been and you're getting a transmission work done or a brake job, make sure that while they're working on your car, you walk over and see Enrico and have a couple of.
You got a lot of options to go and get your drink on while your car is getting to work on.
There you go. Sam. All right. On that note, Enrico, don't go anywhere. We're going to talk after we sign off. But on that note, we will wrap up the show for today. We want to thank everybody for watching. And for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thank you for listening.
That's a great last drink right there.
Don't forget to visit our website, www.lagerroom.com. That's LAGERROOM.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, our YouTube channel. All of them are at The Lager Room. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Twitch every Tuesday night around 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on our audio host, Spreaker, as well as iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Odyssey, Audible, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcast, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, CastBox, Deezer, Podchaser, Listen Notes. Pretty much anywhere you can find an audio podcast, you will find the Lager Room Guys Craft Beer Podcast. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds and you'll never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us.
You don't want to miss this show.
No. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Enrico, thank you so much for coming on with us.
Thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure talking to you tonight. It was totally educational.
Hang out for a few minutes afterwards.
Hang on. We'll talk to you. We are off next week. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
That is right. We get a break. My liver gets a break next week.
You get a break next week. There you go. All right. Take care, folks. Cheers.
I wish I had more of this left.